Hello and welcome back to DJCamel Reviews, and it's been a while. Remember those 3 videos I did when I said I was going to be back? Those were 3 months ago, and I only did 2 reviews then, and there's been a lot of movies since, but it's Monday today, and so that means it's exactly 7 days until I'm going to see the new Mission Impossible movie, which is perhaps my most anticipated movie ever, or top 3, along with the last 2 James Bond movies, and I guess the last Mission Impossible. So very excited. So I thought I'll review some movies in a Road to Reckoning. That's what a lot of people are doing, and where they're reviewing the Mission movies. I'm going to review some of the summer movies I've seen already this year. And spoiler alert for the next few videos, very mixed. Some of them have been good, and some of them have been, other words, other adjectives. So I'm going to start off with a incredibly bang average movie, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, directed by Stephen Caple Jr., who's never done a big blockbuster before. This is following a Hollywood trend where, rather than auteur directors like Miller, I can't remember his name, but Mad Max Fury Road, that's an auteur or auteur movie, a real creative mind, a visionary director, if you will, doing an action movie, a blockbuster, and it has great effects, and you can just tell that it has passion put into it, whereas this movie, other than the fact that you want some big robot battles, and we may as well put out another Transformers movie, because, Michael Bay directed 5 Transformers movies, and say whatever you will about those deeply offensive, overly long, fairly bad, rubbishly scripted movies, they looked great. And I think that's why they did so well. They made $1 billion every time, because international audiences, especially, where the dialogue perhaps isn't as important because it's all dubbed or whatever, those movies looked amazing. They had great special effects. The characters, looked cool, and the action was, really well put together by Michael Bay, who clearly, look at all his films, script-wise, rubbish, jokes-wise, deeply offensive usually. However, those movies, are entertaining to look at in that sense. You just wish he only worked as a director of photography sometimes, and not as a full director who can do his own scripts. But this movie has none of that style. A new composer as well. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I think it's Bontemps is his second name. Not as good as Steve Jablonsky's work on the Michael Bay movies. And, you had Bumblebee, which was a spin-off. It had starred Haley Steinfeld, who was a bigger star than Anthony Ramos, who plays a young human character in this film. And that was a much better movie than the Michael Bay ones and this new one. So really, there's no point for this. It's not doing that well. And other than, spoiler alert for the last shot of the movie, there's some utterly rancid, disgusting, egregious, blatant, cynical world-building, cinematic universe attempting, sequel baiting garbage, where someone literally turns over a business card and then it's G.I. Joe. Apparently they want to do a G.I. Joe Transformers movie. None of the G.I. Joe movies have been good, and there's only been one good Transformers movie, really. Maybe the first Transformers in 2007 was pretty decent, but, because then they got a bit worse, as Michael Bay maybe got carried away. I don't know. But G.I. Joe movies, usually bad. Transformers movies, usually bad. And this movie, if you did that in the end of Bumblebee, I could sort of accept that, because that was kind of a fun, wholesome movie about finding yourself. And this one has a character arc for Noah, Noah played by Anthony Ramos' character, which isn't as strong. He has a relationship with his brother, which is quite sweet, but his brother's ill, so he goes off with the Transformers and, becomes a better person, becomes a team player. But clearly he's a team player to begin with, because he's really nice with his brother and gets along really well with him. And I feel like if he'd taken his brother on, who's ill and, is younger, if he took him on the adventure, that would be a better story than just this girl he meets who's, exposition person. She works at the local museum and she gets one of these Transformer artifacts, and It was fine. Some of the special effects were really, really bad, especially at the end. The end battle scene's kind of fine, but really this is fine. It's well put together, but I think this, is a movie which really shows that you need quality filmmakers with a passion for the work. And please, big studios, stop giving $200 million budgets to people who've only worked on 10 or even like $2 million horror movies or comedies. I mean, the Russo brothers, they'd only done, they did the Avengers movies and some Captain America movies. They'd only done comedies and that worked, but then now that they've started to do their own movies that aren't Marvel ones, where there's a lot more creative control enforced upon them by the studio, those movies have sucked. I mean, don't get me started about The Grey Man on Netflix last year, big spy movie, $200 million budget. Crap, garbage. Stop giving these people budgets, because, give the budgets to people who deserve it, and that is the next movie I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Extraction 2, which is directed by someone who deserves a massive budget to do a proper blockbuster, because a blockbuster, not blockbuster. This is a bit of a bluster's a word. This is a blockbuster. That's a new term. 6 out of 10, but that's being generous. I mean, I had enough fun with it, but there's not really much point to this movie, and there are better action movies out this summer. So, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, a blockbuster.